Imagine you're a pilot, strapped tightly into the cockpit, heart pounding as you prepare for a flight unlike any other. You're about to take control of the most powerful experimental aircraft ever built, a machine that pushes the very boundaries of what's possible in aviation. Your mission is clear: fly higher and faster than almost anyone before you, venturing into realms where few have dared to go. But what if, in your quest for speed and altitude, you went too far, farther than anyone ever intended? What if, for a few breathtaking moments, your airplane left the atmosphere entirely, and you found yourself floating in the silent, endless blackness of space? This isn't science fiction or a scene from a movie. It's the true story of Flight 90 and the legendary North American X-15, a rocket plane that changed history. On July 19, 1963, test pilot Joseph A. Walker unintentionally became an astronaut, pushing his machine past its limits and into the final frontier. He didn't set out to reach space that day, but fate had other plans. He flew a plane into space, a plane with wings, not a capsule on a rocket. It was a feat that defied expectations and redefined what it meant to be a pilot. The X-15 program was designed to explore the edge of space, where the air thins into nothing, and the sky turns from blue to black. These pilots were more than just daredevils. They were scientists, engineers, and pioneers gathering data crucial for the future of aviation and space travel. Every flight was a leap into the unknown. But on this summer day, Joe Walker crossed the Kármán line, the invisible boundary of space, without intending to, making history in the process. His journey was a spectacular, slightly terrifying glimpse into what happens when you fly right off the map, into a place where no rules apply and every second counts. The X-15 was part airplane, part rocket, and all attitude, a true stepping stone between the world of propeller planes and the dawn of spaceships. It bridged the gap between two eras of flight. Joe Walker's unplanned trip into the cosmos was a powerful reminder that exploration is never predictable. Sometimes the greatest discoveries happen by accident. This is the story of that wild ride, a journey that forever blurred the line between pilot and astronaut, and showed the world just how thin the edge of the unknown can be. So, what was the X-15? It wasn't just another experimental aircraft, it was a bold leap into the unknown, a machine that pushed the boundaries of what was possible in aviation and spaceflight. Forget everything you know about airplanes. The X-15 was in a league of its own, designed for speeds and altitudes that no conventional plane could ever reach. The X-15 looked more like a missile than a plane, with its slender rocket-like fuselage and tiny stubby wings. Its black paint wasn't just for looks, it was a special coating to protect it from the searing heat generated at hypersonic speeds. Unlike traditional aircraft, it didn't take off from a runway under its own power. Instead, a massive B-52 bomber carried the X-15 up to 45,000 feet, where it was released into the thin upper atmosphere, ready for its rocket-powered journey. The heart of the X-15 was its powerful rocket engine, the Reaction Motors XLR-99. This engine could generate a staggering 57,000 pounds of thrust, burning liquid oxygen and anhydrous ammonia to propel the X-15 faster and higher than any aircraft before it. With this much power, the X-15 could accelerate from zero to the edge of space in just a few minutes, reaching speeds over Mach 6 and altitudes above 50 miles. For the pilot, it was like riding a controlled explosion. The entire flight was intense and brief, lasting only 10 to 12 minutes from launch to landing, but every second was packed with danger and discovery. The X-15 wasn't just about speed, it was a flying laboratory. Scientists and engineers packed it with experiments to study hypersonic flight, the edge of the atmosphere, and the effects of space on both machines and humans. Inside, the X-15 was crammed with sensors and recording equipment, gathering data that would prove vital for designing future spacecraft, including the legendary Space Shuttle. The cockpit was a tight squeeze, filled with dials, switches, and a unique 3-joystick control system. One for flying in the atmosphere, one for maneuvering in space, and a third for fine adjustments. This hybrid control system was revolutionary, allowing the X-15 to operate where no other aircraft could, neither fully a plane nor a spacecraft, but something entirely new. Pilots had to master both worlds, learning to fly like a test pilot and think like an astronaut. They became true pioneers, venturing into the final frontier with every mission. The X-15's groundbreaking design and the wealth of data it produced would go on to shape the future of space exploration, influencing everything from re-entry techniques to spacecraft controls. In the end, the X-15 was the ultimate testbed, a bridge between the world of airplanes and the dawn of human spaceflight, paving the way for the next generation of flight and exploration. July 19, 1963. The sun rose over the Mojave Desert, casting long shadows across the tarmac at Edwards Air Force Base. Edwards Air Force Base buzzed with anticipation for X-15 Flight 90. Engineers, pilots, and even families gathered to witness what promised to be a historic test flight. At the controls, Joseph A. Walker, a veteran test pilot with nerves of steel and a reputation for pushing the limits of flight. The mission was clear: test a new control system and reach a record high altitude, not quite space, but higher than any winged aircraft had ever flown before. The massive B-52 carrier plane climbed steadily to the drop zone high above the Nevada desert, carrying the X-15 beneath its wing like a secret weapon. Walker ran through his final checklist, methodically confirming every switch and dial. 3, 2, 1, drop! The X-15 fell away from the B-52, briefly weightless, before Walker ignited the rocket engine. A plume of fire erupted, pinning him back in his seat as the plane thundered upward, the roar of the engine echoing through the thin air. The plan was simple: burn the engine for 85 seconds, then coast to peak altitude, letting momentum carry the X-15 higher than ever before. Walker kept the machine on a razor-sharp trajectory, accelerating past Mach 5, 5 times the speed of sound, while monitoring every instrument. The sky outside shifted from deep blue to inky black. Stars began to appear, twinkling in the daylight, a sight few had ever witnessed. He was flying higher than any winged aircraft before, skimming the edge of the atmosphere, with the world curving beneath him. But then, a tiny deviation, a fraction too much climb, a bit more engine thrust, sent the X-15 soaring even higher than planned, pushing the boundaries of the mission. As the engine cut out, the X-15 coasted upward, now a ballistic object, gliding silently through the upper reaches of the atmosphere. The altimeter kept climbing, higher and higher, numbers spinning past previous records as Walker watched in awe. It became clear: Flight 90 wasn't just reaching the edge of space, it was about to make history. The X-15 was going to cross the Kármán line, the invisible boundary of space. Joseph Walker was about to become an accidental astronaut, venturing farther than anyone ever intended on that July morning. As the X-15 coasted upward, Joe Walker was no longer just a pilot, he was in a spacecraft. The aircraft soared past 300,000 feet, the sky black, Earth a curved horizon. Traditional controls were useless. Walker used tiny thrusters to keep stable. Then, the X-15 crossed the Kármán line, 100 kilometers up, the official boundary of space. Walker became the first human to fly into space twice by international standards. He experienced minutes of weightlessness floating in the cockpit. The X-15 was a research plane pushed to its limit, but Walker stayed focused, gathering data and testing controls in weightlessness. The view was breathtaking: the curve of Earth, the thin blue atmosphere, the vast American West, but there was little time to enjoy it. The X-15 reached its apex, 354,200 feet. Gravity began to reclaim it. The silent coast was over. The most dangerous part was about to begin: fiery re-entry. Walker braced for the return to Earth. The X-15's return was anything but gentle. Now a falling cannonball, it accelerated as gravity pulled it down. Re-entry brought unimaginable heat, over 1,200 degrees Fahrenheit. The black paint was a special heat-resistant coating. Walker faced crushing G-forces, up to 5 times his body weight. He had to keep the aircraft's angle just right, too high or low and disaster could strike. As the X-15 hit denser air, it went into a wild yaw, skidding sideways. Walker fought to regain control using both rudder and thrusters. Slowly, the X-15 transitioned from falling projectile to glider. The wings began to generate lift again. The fiery plunge smoothed into a high-speed glide. Walker had survived re-entry, now he had to land. After surviving re-entry, Walker piloted a heavy, fast glider. The X-15 had no engine power left, he had one shot at landing. It touched down at over 200 miles per hour using steel skids instead of wheels. Walker circled over Rogers Dry Lake, bleeding off speed and altitude. Chase planes flew alongside, checking for damage and calling out data. Walker lined up, flared, and touched down, skidding over a mile before stopping. Silence followed the screech of metal on Earth. Walker was safe. He'd flown a plane into space and brought it home. The flight lasted just under 12 minutes, but set a new altitude record and earned Walker his astronaut wings. Flight 90 proved a winged vehicle could fly into space and return, a concept that would shape the future. Flight 90 was a triumph, but the X-15 program was incredibly dangerous. Pilots risked their lives on every mission, riding a temperamental rocket. Engine failure or a mistake at Mach 6 could be fatal. The physical toll was immense, crushing G-forces, cramped cockpits, bulky suits. Every mission was a walk on a tightrope. The risks were real. In 1967, pilot Michael J. Adams lost his life when his X-15 broke apart during re-entry. Despite tragedy, the program continued, 199 flights between 1959 and 1968. The courage of the 12 pilots, including Neil Armstrong, was extraordinary. Their sacrifices pushed humanity toward the unexplored. The X-15's legacy is monumental. It was the first reusable spaceplane, proving a winged vehicle could fly into space, survive re-entry, and land on a runway. The X-15 pioneered reaction control thrusters, hypersonic aerodynamics, and heat-resistant materials, all vital for the space shuttle. It created the pilot-astronaut, with skills that would be essential for shuttle commanders. The X-15 blurred the line between flight and spaceflight, building the knowledge base for reusable vehicles. Its 199 flights generated data that shaped generations of aircraft and spacecraft. Every shuttle landing at Edwards traced the path first blazed by the X-15. The little black rocket plane showed the way home from space. The X-15 and Joe Walker's unplanned leap into space remind us of the spirit of exploration. Flight 90 captured the unpredictable, rewarding nature of discovery. Today its legacy lives on in commercial spaceplanes like Spaceship Two and Dream Chaser. The dream of a vehicle that flies to orbit and lands again began with the X-15. Progress happens at the blurry edges of our maps. Walker's skill and his machine took him to the stars. The X-15's wild ride is an invitation to imagine the future, where the line between sky and space is a well-traveled highway. The universe is waiting. Let's go.